We are in the 5 o'clock hour, and if it's 5 o'clock, it's hard copy. Hard Copy is a presentation of the McKinney Media Group. Copyrights 2015, all rights reserved. The views, statements, and opinions of guests expressed on this show does not necessarily reflect the views of the host, sponsors, or operators of this radio station. No part of this program may be copied or reproduced in full or in part without the express written consent of the producers, the McKinney Media Group. This is Hard Copy on the McKinney Broadcasting Radio Network. Hard Copy, as you know, seeks to lay out the facts in simple fashion for the inclusion of all Bahamians and Bahamians at heart. The focus every day to move forthright in our manner to build a progressive and developing country. Our desire for the Bahamas is that we have a competent, skillful, and productive workforce. We want a country that can feed and sustain itself. We want a country with a brilliant, visionary action plan that's ready to embrace a future of hope and prosperity. We encourage like-minded Bahamians, just like you, to participate with intelligent and honest contributions. After all, friends, we have a country to build. We've got jobs and industry to create, people to inspire and empower. And generations of born and unborn Bahamians, we the people must protect and plan for. And if not you, then who? If not now, then when? Today on Hard Copy, you want to be a part of this, the war of words on Bahama. The big question today, can a brother express himself in a democratic country? It's interesting. My guest up next, Mr. Dionisio Viagla.
BTC is for all Bahamians, not just those who live on densely populated islands. BTC has never been a company that bases its business solely on profits. As a national telecommunications provider, we believe it is equally important to ensure that we provide services to all islands, and not just where it is economically feasible. BTC covers from Inagua to Grand Bahama, and all islands in between. So whether you live in Grandstown or Grand Key, Matthewtown or Marsh Harbor, BTC is there for you. You deserve it.
Okay, guys, we are about to practice for the big 50-year celebration for New Oriental Cleaners. Anna 1, Anna 2, Anna.
Still looking good, 50 years we've been growing. Keep them looking good, it's our pride and joy.
Cut. Yeah, it's 9 locations. Let's pick it up again. Anna 1, Anna 2, Anna.
Still looking good, 50 years we've been growing. Keep them looking good, it's our pride and joy.
9
locations on the island to serve you. New Oriental Cleaners is the one.
That's it right there. New Oriental Cleaners, keeping Bahamians looking good for over 50 years. Like us on Facebook and be the first to know about promotions.
You're joking, right? I'm not reading that. Who approved this? You want Mr. Roberts mad at me? Hey, really? So you're showing now. Okay, then. Here goes. This week's specials at Super Value and Quality Supermarket include Sawyer mayonnaise, the 32-ounce jar, $2.99. Kraft macaroni and cheese, 7 1/4-ounce box, 99 cents. Kellogg's Raisin Bran Crunch cereal, 43 1/3-ounce box, $8.99. Value Time towels, 1 roll, 99 cents. Boneless chicken breast, $2.89 per pound. Too good to believe. That's Super Value and Quality Supermarkets.
What happened to Chloe Han?
You mean Hans? She lose one bet with me.
What kind of bet?
I tell her that steam pressing to Charles Sanders Superwash is cripsier because the steam presser newer. She said that don't make no difference. I asked if she won't bet. She said, yeah. I say, okay, you go to Prince Charles and I'll go to Charles Sanders. Call me on my cell when you get there. Then we could put our left hand in the presser for 3 seconds. Then we could switch. I go into Prince Charles and you come over here. So she do that. I believe that steam pressing to Prince Charles hot because she did put down 1 piece of oil already.
Well, how about your hands?
We gonna get to that. So she hang up and she go on to Charles Sanders, where she called me again on my cell. This time, I tell her we could put our right hand in this time for 3 seconds. Then after all the data is in, we can make a determination.
So which one was the hottest?
I don't know.
How you mean you ain't know?
I was home.
Superwash for the hottest steam pressing anywhere.
Now this right here is madness. My kids want to go everywhere. Disney World, SeaWorld, Zimbabwe. Zimbabwe?
Commonwealth Bank Summer Madness Special is here to make sure your summer is a happy one with lots of prizes and giveaways. Don't miss your chance to win big this summer with Commonwealth Bank.
Commonwealth Bank Summer Madness can help me with some of my madness. Yeah, I can either win that travel voucher.
The best insurance in town is Advantage Insurance on Collins Avenue. They are simply the best because they provide easy, affordable insurance rates for home, car, business, or whatever is valuable or important to you. Advantage Insurance and Brokers, 61 Collins Avenue, is the fastest, most progressive insurance company in the Bahamas because they really take care of you by making insurance totally affordable. Call them now at 356-0285 or 6 or email them at info@advantagebahamas.com.
Steve McKinney, a show off the chain.
I feel Mr. McKinney is excellent. He's professional in his field, and he takes care of all issues.
I listen to Hard Copy, but like to hear various viewpoints, and it helps.
Hard Copy is my show. Steve McKinney is my man.
It is Tuesday, the 28th day of the month of July, 2015, as you battle the congested city streets and drive home traffic. We have sun and cloud on the outside today. Good day for the beach. 90 degrees on the outside. Would you believe at 5 o'clock? And guess what? It feels like 109 out there today. In the nation's capital, the low tonight is going to be 81, a nice hot 81 tonight. Rain chance 0%. Thank you so much for joining us on the drive home. I'm Steve McKinney. This is Hard Copy. We're brought to you today by the National Art Gallery, Commonwealth Bail Bonds, Bank of the Bahamas, the Bank of Solutions. BTC every day, the new Samsung 6, now available for you. Super Value, the All Bahamian Supermarkets, the McKinney Media Group for effective PR concepts and advertisement. RBC Visa, get it now. The Ministry of Tourism, Goombay Summer starts on Friday. Also, Advantage Insurance and Brokers, 61 Collins Avenue. New Oriental Dry Cleaners, 9 locations. They want to keep you looking good. Grace Academy, number 1's Chester Clothes. Ron's Electric Motors, they can fix anything. Prime Immigration Services. Sky Bahamas, professionals in every way, every day. Super Wash with 11 locations, open 24/7 around the country. Also, CFAL, Cleaner Financial Advisors Limited. Commonwealth Bank Summer Madness. Executive Printers, they do printing right. Also, Henry F. Store, the light people on Mackey Street, and Le Bleu, ultra pure drinking water, the official water of Hard Copy. The war of words begin now to heat up because there are some people who apparently cannot tolerate other people who want to express themselves on a matter that's before all of us as a national matter of great importance, and that is Bahama. Today on the show, we want to introduce you to Dionisio Diagla. He's going to be my special guest in just a minute. Want to give you some numbers just quickly, 325-023506. You can join us on Facebook at Hard Copy 242, and of course on Twitter, Hard Copy Bahamas, Cable Top Box 970, and TuneIn Radio. You can hear us all around the world, iPad, iPhone, any Android. You can also text us on the BlackBerry at 376-9234, and you can follow us on the World Wide Web at peace1075.com, and you can be a part of the conversation here today on Hard Copy. You know, the Bahama issue is getting more and more sticky with each passing day. We talked about it yesterday, but it's getting more and more sticky with each passing day, so much so that the chairman of the Progressive Liberal Party, PLP, Big Bad Brad, gets irritated when some people, quote unquote, talk too much about the problematic $3.5 billion development out west. Now, based on a press release issued today by Big Bad Brad, Bahamian businessman Dionisio Diagla has pissed him off and made him steaming mad. Mind you, all Diagla did was express his opinion about the stalled development, and Robert teed off on him with a barrage of blows and a scathing attack, accusing him of making inflammatory remarks, one behind the other, further hurting the Bahama situation. in full. Roberts' statement today suggests that Diagla is anti-Bahamian on this matter, as nothing that he has said today has been helpful to a successful negotiated settlement on the contractual dispute, in the opinion, that is, of Big Bad Brad. Dionisio is clearly a part of the problem, he says, and should keep quiet in the best interest of all Bahamians and the project. Roberts made that clear today in his press release to the national media. Of course, I quickly gave Diagla a call and said, listen, can you come by and let me know what cardinal sin that you have made? Because this is quite interesting, because not only is Diagla talking about this issue, because he has an interest. Most business people have an interest. We've been talking over and over how this whole thing can cause a domino effect to obliterate business in the Bahamas, as we know, because so many things are tied up in it. So Diagla expressed himself when he got the he got Bradley Roberts all twisted in this particular one. And so we talk about that today, not only just on the Bradley Roberts thing, because to me that is a small thing. Roberts expressed himself, Diagla expressing himself, no problem. Can a brother from another mother express himself in the country anymore? That's one of the things I laugh about. But the big thing is that what is really happening with Bahama? And how come we don't embrace the words of Diagla when he speaks? Because he seems to have good information. So I'm interested on your behalf as a Bahamian public as to what really got Mr. Roberts all teed off, and what has Mr. Diagla been up to that has caused him to write a national press release. From the chairman of the Progressive Liberal Party, Diagla is part of the problem in the Bahama saga. Mr. Diagla, welcome. Good afternoon. How are you?
Thank you so much for that intro, Steve. Lovely to be on your show.
Well, I'm happy that you're here. You've been here before. You're back again. And I want to talk some business. And I know that this statement with Mr. Roberts, he said a lot of things inside it that I didn't get to. I'll perhaps get to some of it today. But I suppose it is just a matter of you wanting to make sure that the public gets a good understanding and setting the record as to what Mr. Diagla is all about with this Bahama project, and why is Mr. Roberts, I suppose my words, picking on you, or picked you out to say that this is something that you have now been feeding the frenzy and not doing anything positive to help it to come alive and be successful.
Well, first of all, I serve on the board of directors of Bahama.
Mm-hmm.
I am the only Bahamian on the board. And, at the outset, we all want this project to succeed.
I think so.
And that is the intention of everybody, especially the developer, Sarkis Ismailian, who's put $800 to $900 million of his own money into this project.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't for 1 minute want people to believe that he does not want this project to come to fruition. It has been my feeling and my impression is that the government of the Bahamas, by taking the actions that it has taken, has seemingly blamed him for the failure of this project to come about.
You feel that way?
Yeah. And as I sat around that board table for the last 3 to 4 years, I saw the events unfold.
Mm-hmm.
And I felt that there was an improper representation of what was going on. And what Mr. Bradley Roberts should have done, rather than lay into my comments and to say that I was born with a silver spoon in my mouth and I should really stick to the wash house business because that's all I know about, rather than be unproductive and rally things up and to get into this complete drivel of a diatribe, what he should have done was call me up and say, look, Diagla, you on the board, why do you feel the way that you feel? Talk to me.
Yeah.
Let me get an understanding of why you feel the way you feel. Instead of laying it. I mean, the man has never talked to me. I was on that board for 3 to 4 years. I was there. I saw the events unfold. I saw us go towards this war. And to think that, this was a decision that we all took very lightly, and this is a decision that we made to screw the Bahamian people and to screw the project is absolute rubbish. The man is talking once again out of a part of his body he shouldn't be talking out of.
So this is where the problem is. Mr. Roberts or nobody else called you. I mean, you are Bahamian on the board. He did say that you are a personal friend of Sarkis Ismailian. So I suppose that you may be considered in some people's corner, in some people's view, a part of the enemy within.
Yeah, I mean, clearly, I admit it. I'm a friend of his. This man, Sarkis's mailing has been good for the Bahamas. He's come here. He's chosen this country to make a $3.6 billion investment in our country. It is the largest hotel project of its kind in the Caribbean. He could have done it in many other countries, but he's decided to do it here. And not only has he done the project here, he's moved here with his family, his wife, his kids. His father and mother live here. So they are committed to the Bahamas. They are genuinely concerned and caring about this country. And when he did this project, no other developer did what I feel that he did. So he started the Learning Development Institute, which was to go into the worst neighborhoods and pick the kids who are most disadvantaged and say, you know what? Come into the Learning Development Institute and let me train you and give you a second chance.
That's interesting.
And that's Jeff Lloyd spearheaded that show, and that's 800 kids went through that program. And every time you go to that graduation, you cry. Because it's amazing. These people are
They
so
got a chance.
thankful.
Yeah, they finally got a chance.
You know,
or
they didn't have any BJCs, no BJCs, nothing. They were just cast aside as being, okay, you're hopeless. You have no chance. And he went and he said, I want them. Give me them. Let me start with them. Let me give them another chance. Let 800 people go through that. In the world of art, he said, you know what? I want Bahamian art adorning the millions of square foot of walls that I'm going to have in this facility. Let me go out and seek out Bahamian artists to put into this project. He is a hardworking. It's taken him 13 years of his life. This is the prime of his life. He started at 30. He's now, I think, 43. He's made a genuine effort to make this a success. And anybody who says that he has not, it's just lying, because I've been there, I've seen it.
Why do you think that is, though, that there's this perception, Mr. Diakla, that Sarkis is the one playing hardball, he is not cooperative, Sarkis seems to be the focus of everybody's attention from a negative point of view, that he is the one who is stopping the show? Why do you suppose that is?
Well, on the other side of the equation are these two Chinese entities. One is China State Construction, which is building the hotel, and the other one is China Export-Import Bank, which is funding the deal. And so, I don't know. I can only come to some sort of conjecture of why it's seemingly, in my opinion, the government of the Bahamas seems to have picked sides. The Chinese have invested in Cable Beach. They've given us a stadium. They've given us a soft loan on building the road from the airport. They bought the Hilton downtown. They've offered to redevelop Bay Street. They own a company in Freeport, or not own, but I'm sure they have an interest in Hutchison Whampoa, which is a Chinese Hong Kong-based company that owns all of Freeport. And I guess the government has said, well, we don't want to upset them. You know, we want to make sure that they are happy. They are investing a lot in our country.
These are
and
the
we don't
two.
want
These are the Chinese Exim Bank and of course.
Yeah, well, Chinese entities in general have made a significant investment in our country, and they're thinking, you know, I don't want to upset that apple cart, but I want everybody to be mindful of the fact that this friction that has arisen between Bahama and the construction company, China State Construction, has been brewing.
Yes, we
for years. Has been brewing for years.
It was never a good relationship, was it?
Well, you know, it's just that, you know, when I look you in the eyes, Steve, and I tell you, look, I give you a handshake, I say, get it done by this day and that date, and I agree to make a deal. I expect you to uplive that. I uphold that. I expect you to follow through on what you do. And I don't want anyone to think that we suddenly stumbled on this problem in March of this year. During a project of this size, you have milestone dates. You have to get this done before you get done. If you don't get this done by that date, then it's going to be a problem later on. And it builds. You have to hit certain deadlines, certain dates, certain things have to happen.
This didn't
if
happen,
you're going to
though.
help, if you're going to get there. And along the way, Bahamad, when I was sitting around that board, was screaming, you need more people. You need more expertise. You're not hitting your milestones.
This is what they're telling the construction company.
Yes, this is what they're telling China State. You are not making your milestones. And China State would say, okay, we could do this, we could do this, we could do this. And, you know, they just didn't deliver. And that is why when you get to March of this year and you turn on your reservation system, you've received assurances from your general contractor, China State, that they're going to make this deadline. You've hired the people. You put food in the fridge. You turn on the air conditioner light. You put the sheets on the bed, and you're ready to receive. And suddenly on that day, I mean, you could see it coming, but that's when it came to fruition. They were not close to that. Well, they weren't there.
He says that they're 97% finished. A lot of people question that. The prime minister said he said 98. Prime minister said 97. Difference of a percentage point. But the point is that if the building, if the project is that close to completion, it cannot be all of those problems that are still existing and do what they need. Delicio de Agla, all the monies that they're talking about that they need now to, in fact, finish this project. What is really happening? You can take us back to that, because you made mention of something. You've been on that board for about 4 years. You sat around. You saw this building up. I'm sure the developers tried to work as best they could with the Chinese construction company to see if they could work out something amicably. Didn't happen. Eventually, Sarkis got pissed off. There's no question about that. And he made some statements. He started to make statements in the Rotary and different places he went, giving hints, dropping hints, trying to get things done. That didn't work. So the thing escalated into where we are now, at an impasse where, in fact, Sarkis is not a pleased developer. His recent statements talked about him. Why don't we get some behemoths to finish this and get rid of this Chinese construction company, because they're noose around the neck and I'm not interested in them. This is his last statement, his most recent statement, which tells me that from all of that time to this time, there's been nothing appreciative, nothing that one can say he appreciates now that they're getting somewhere and would work with them. So we are at an impasse based upon a construction company that the Bahamas government has been hearing the cries of, because Mr. Christie sat in the meetings and he was a mediator, so he knows what is going on. And of course, the Chinese Exim Bank knows what is happening. But Mr. de Agla, I made a statement here yesterday that, you know what? They're one and the same. They're not going to cut any. No. The Chinese bank would not cut the construction company loose. So that means that we are really at a real impasse, because obviously Ismailian is playing hardball and he's good at what he's doing. I said this yesterday. And I believe that he has a big plan afoot to make sure that he stays in the game, because some of his recent statements too have been saying that he believes that they want to take him out of the game, that he believes that there's collusion, something along those lines with the bank and the government of the Bahamas, et cetera, et cetera. So it's not a pretty thing. Despite the negotiations and all that, he's not showed up. He's not interested. He is not checking, is what I said yesterday. Now, is that a kind of like a correct assessment as to where we are?
Well, not quite. To say that he's not checking is not really correct.
Checking for the negotiations at the table in Beijing.
He's not there, but the president of his company is there. The people who are empowered to make decisions and who he relies heavily on for advice are there. So, as the chairman of the company is not there, but as the president of the company is there and has been there for 3 weeks, negotiating nonstop to try and get a deal. And it just feels that anytime you attempt to tie China State down to hard financial commitments and hard deadlines and the use of additional expertise and manpower to make it to the deadline, the new deadline that you set, they always attempt to water down and to wiggle, to muddy the waters in terms of what happens if you don't hit those deadlines. Now, if you're a developer, right? Contractor, if you don't hit this deadline, there are real financial penalties. I got to pay, so you're going to have to pay. And they tend to wiggle. China State tends to try to wiggle out of them. And all Mr. Ismailian is trying to do is, look, we're late. It's going to cost us a lot of money to complete this. $400 million, I think is the number now, $400 million to complete this, to get it open, to fund some operating losses, to remarket the project, because all the marketing you've spent now is probably short, to get it all up and going again. And he wants them to give him a hard deadline, and they're very, very, very. They wiggle. Yeah. Well, we see what we can do.
You say wiggle. Some people say slippery, but anyway, we get to meaning.
And it's just and the only way you get someone to commit to a deadline is when you have real financial penalties if you don't hit that deadline. So if you say December the 15th, buddy, if you don't hit December the 15th, this can cost you. So you better make that date. And you better focus. So this is the date. You agree to that date? Well, yeah, but la. And so that's what the difficulty is. The real tying them down to the financial commitments and the deadlines to try and get this deal done. And that's the difficulty. And I think that Bahama, the developer has really tried and has given and given and given and given and given. And unfortunately, by the government deciding to start this involuntary liquidation process, it has seemingly emboldened the Chinese, to embolden China state, I wouldn't say Chinese, embolden China state to take a much harder position. They're like, man, that deadline on Friday coming, and we ain't gonna lose nothing. You got the most to lose if we don't have a deal by Friday. So we're gonna harden our position and make it much more difficult for us to make a deal, because that Friday deadline is seemingly gonna hurt you a lot more than it hurt us. So hey, this is our position.
Well, let's talk about that very quickly. There is this this liquidation, this winding up process that's to begin on Friday the 31st, a couple of days from now. Now, one would think that this is really something that Mr. Ismailian has to deal with, even though many people perceive him as not so much checking for what the negotiations are saying. He seemed to have been going around the place trying to find some money, whatever he's been doing. But the thing is, he has to deal with this before our courts on Friday. What do you suppose is his best advice, his best move to make on this? If in fact he said that he has about $200 million that he has, many people are believing that the government began the liquidation winding up process because of the fact that they said that they're owed $58-point-some million, $60 million, let's say. Wouldn't it make sense as a businessman? I'm just asking you this now because a lot of lawyers, Dionisio de Aguilar, believes that if Mr. Ismailian is coming to this money, his first priority, top priority would be to neutralize the government at the level of going to court and having this wind up happen. So to neutralize them by paying them $60 million and take it out of the court. That is something that is just as clear as day to me, but I'm wondering if that is a logical approach to this whole matter. And because I know a lot of strategy is happening here too. And Ismailian obviously is not going to show his hand until he is ready to show his hand. But I'm asking you, from a point of view of the fact that he said he has $200 million, the conjecture that maybe by Friday he'll come up and do something to neutralize the government, what is your viewpoint on that? Is that a move of note that can be taken? And is that a move too that would be taken? And what would that do if that move is taken as far as the government's position and their snuggle relationship with China State and Exim Bank?
I don't know what he's going to do on Friday. He hasn't come to that decision yet. Clearly, that is an option. You pay off the government their $60 million, and then all of a sudden they're no longer a creditor, so they are no longer able to bring this winding up procedure. And you also have to be mindful of the Chapter 11 process that's going on in Delaware and the United States. And if you decide to go against a Delaware court, they could hold you in contempt of an American court. And as a creditor that's pushing their claim, the only people that are never held in contempt are a sovereign nation, right? So a sovereign nation can get away with that. But
everybody else,
if Dionisio de Aguilar decides to push, this is a Chapter 11 proceeding, and if that stands up and is not thrown out of court, then you could be in contempt of an American court. But I think what is most important for the government to decide on Friday in deciding whether to proceed with this is the whole purpose of this process was to speed it up. Was to get it done. And I commend the government for that.
I saw your article on that.
I think that the government, some might argue it's right for the government to put a little pressure on the process. And that's
it's maneuvering. They got to do
but you got
what they have to do.
But you have to be very mindful of the fact that when you take away control, the only thing that we're really focused on right now, because it's probably the most critical, is the relationship between the developer and the construction company. But that developer has a lot of relationships with a whole host of other people. It's got relationships with the brands, Hyatt, Rosewood. He's got those relationships. He's got relationships with his restaurant operators. He's got relationships with his retail operators. He's got marketing deals and relationships with a whole host of other people necessary to run a project of this magnitude. And when you take him out and all that embedded knowledge that he has and his team of senior managers have, then that too presents a problem. To me, that in fact slows the project down. Because even if you get it finished, you need the relationships with these other people. And by going into involuntary liquidation, does this invalidate all of those relationships? can Hyatt then up and walk away and say, well, no, I don't have a deal anymore because that company's now out. That doesn't exist anymore.
That could destroy the whole process.
That could worsen things rather than speed things up.
So that wasn't a good move. In other words, it was a move that you understand, but
Yeah.
it was not perhaps the best move that should have been made at this point of the game. You were saying at one point,
Yeah.
maybe by the time they were hearing the final analysis or the conclusion of the hearing from the jurisdiction of the United States and Delaware courts, that would have been the time for the government to move on something like that. But he says,
I think they were premature. I think they
was
were premature
premature
in allowing the discussions to conclude. And I think they were premature. You know, most people, most pundits, most accountants, lawyers, whatever, say that, you know, the winding up procedure, they probably acted too quickly. They should have allowed the Chapter 11 process to develop. The $80 million would have come in. The project would have been still functioning. And I just think that, you know, it's sort of tipped your hand in the favor of the people on the other side, because this deadline could have far more damaging consequences for the developer than it can for China State and Exim Bank. And that's the point. And another point that the developer has been trying to make is, look, you've been putting a lot of pressure on me. You've been beating me up. I think if you diverted some of that energy to the other side, we may have a deal. So it ain't all about me. I mean, I'm the one that came to your country. I'm the one that invested. Yes, you gave me concessions. I agree. You know, it's been a partnership, but look at where Cable Beach was. Look at where it is now. It's, you know, it's something wonderful is rising out of the ground. You know, it was my brainchild. It's my
cut
dream.
Me some slack.
Yeah, just
look at the other guys.
Honestly, cut me some slack. Keep the foot on my neck. I get that, but put the foot equally as hard on the other neck. And when you put the pressure to both necks equally, you may cause to have a deal.
Is that why you believe that he believes that there's collusion, there's some kind of a relationship, and that he feels the outsider in this project that he has come up with?
Well, just, you know, you see the letters and the correspondence. I've been privy to some correspondence that hasn't been made public of between government officials and officials at Exim Bank and China State, and then leads one or gives one the impression that, you know, they believe that the aggrieved party is not Bahama. The aggrieved party are China State and Exim Bank. They're the aggrieved parties, and we're going to come to their rescue, and we're going to try and get them on our side, and we're going to try and work with them to get this deal to come to fruition. And I just think that's, you know, I think that's misguided, and I think it was wrong. And I think that, you know, I liken this story. Let me give you something that most Bahamians can relate to. You're building your $100,000 home. You started in January, and you want to be in for Christmas. And December the 15th comes along, and you've given the contractor $90,000 out of the 100. And on the 15th of December, you know, most contractors stop working and they go home for the Christmas. And your house is incomplete, and the developer goes home for the Christmas. And he don't answer his cell phone. He don't respond to you. He don't say nothing. He just don't come to work on the 15th onwards. And you're screaming and shouting, and you're trying to get a result out of him. So you don't hear anything. Christmas goes, you don't go in your house. You come around to January, and about January the 10th, he gives you a call. He says, yeah, I'm sorry about that. I didn't meet the deadline. You've given me $90,000 so far. Give me the balance, the 10, and I'll let you know when you can move in. So by that time, you ready to tell him to go to hell. You ain't on his run. And that is somewhat what this situation is. We're trying to, you know, I don't want to put.
But he has a right to do that. He has a right to change the contract. I mean, the same scenario.
Well, he doesn't actually.
He doesn't, not by the contractual agreement.
He has an agreement that as part of the agreement of the bank, you know, to get the Chinese money. One of the conditions was you use China State.
And that's it.
And
nobody
else. But, you know, we feel that, you know, should the government apply the appropriate pressure, you know, this is the Bahamas. This is our problem. This is our
Mr.
country.
Diagler, it seems like Sarkis no longer is interested at all with this Chinese bank.
No, Chinese construction.
Chinese
construction
company.
Yeah. I mean, you're right.
The relationship he doesn't seem to be interested in that anymore.
The relationship is not good. And the question is, having gone through this messy divorce, can you kiss and make up? And can you move on with this? Having gone around to this drop down, bust up, carry on dead bad fight in the middle of the street, can you now come back together, kiss and make up, and finish the project? Or are you going to be now every step of the way very untrusting, very lawyered up?
More than likely, that's how the thing would be.
Or very lawyered up. You know, get this in writing. We're not doing this until you do this. And, you know, in order to get this done, you got to trust the person you're going into. And I think a lot of people, you know, another reason why this Chapter 11 was thrown out was the fact that, you know, as it was reported to me, it was like, well, we can't have all these Bahamian contractors traipsing up to Delaware to put in their claims. And I say to everybody, I mean, clearly, if Mr. Ismailian is going to finish this project, he's going to have to use a certain component of Bahamian contractors. And it makes no business sense whatsoever to not pay them and to upset them, because they're clearly not going to come back on your job if you don't pay them. And you know what the irony of this whole thing is, Steve? The reason why so much is owed to Bahamian contractors,
Why?
is that during this project, it became apparent that China State would be unable to deliver a lot of this project on time using the approach that they were using. And it was the developer, Mr. Ismailian, that said, look, we need to start using local contractors. We got to get them much more involved here. We got to get them to take a greater portion on this project, because you know what? There may be a lot of complaints about Bahamian contractors, but I think they're pretty damn good. And they deliver on time and they deliver quality work. And they've done a great job. And that's why at the end of the day, they have been used much more than it was intended at the outset. And that's why, unfortunately, they're owed so much money right now. But, you know, there's just no way that they're not going to get paid if you want to finish that project.
Now, Mr. Ismailian is now saying that why don't we use, he's saying, and without using the Chinese construction company, let us use Bahamians to finish this job. Some people see that, Mr. Yagler, as a way of playing into the political area of putting Christie in a position to make him do something that would show sincerely that he believes in Bahamians. Because if he says, no, we're going to stick with the XM Bank and with the Chinese construction company, it would seem to some people that he's looking out for their best interest, while the developer himself is saying, look, let us use these Bahamians and finish this project, because we really are not interested in China construction anymore, because they've done shoddy work. So that puts the Prime Minister and the Bahamas government in a pickle, as far as what I can see. But the question really is, was that a strategic move of political theater to make that happen?
So,
or is this a sincere thing that he's thinking now that can happen and really get this project moving?
Okay, so plan A is to use China State. Okay, that's plan A. And the bank will always remain there because the bank is funding the project. So XM Bank, they're there no matter which plan you use. So plan A is to kiss and make up with China State, to make a deal with them. Everybody put some money in, because this has hurt a lot of people and this has wasted a lot of money, and we need to get this project properly funded and moved on. So that's plan A. But clearly, of late, there hasn't been much headway. So you now need to come up with plan B. So if your contractor is clearly not in a mood to make an agreement with you, you need to go to plan B, which is, okay, so Bahamians did a bloody good job on this project, delivered great work on time, quality work. Why not suggest that they step into where China State was unable to deliver? And it creates a real quandary for the government. You know, the developer is saying, okay, I'm coming up with 200 million. That's because right now it's 100 million by China State, 100 million by Bahama, and 200 million by the bank to come up with the 400 million.
Right.
So, okay, the developer says, I'll come up with the 200 million. Let's take China State out of it. I'll come up with 200. And the bank, you come up with your 200. And let's go to the Bahamians and let's use that. Now, that's plan B. Now,
plan B doesn't seem to be a welcome.
Well, obviously the bank, the bank and the construction company, you need the blessing of the bank to get that deal, right? So the bank isn't going to do it unless pressured to do it. So enter the government. The government is now, look, I want this deal done. So if you all can't come to an agreement, the other deal on the table is for Mr. Ismailian to come up with the other 100 million. And we, you all go, okay, thank you very much. It didn't work. It was wonderful. But he's offering a deal which is using our people.
Yeah.
And as the government of the Bahamas, representing Bahamian people, hoping to employ Bahamian people, how could I say no? Yeah. I have to say yes. But if you all don't make a deal.
But listen, I agree with you, but If this doesn't happen, though, I mean, there's not only political fallout for the government of the Bahamas, but the picture, the perception is going to be awful that you didn't take an opportunity to utilize payment contractors and so on. But the thing is, it doesn't seem as if that's going to be the play. It seems as if, while I know and I hear you and I believe you and I agree with you, that they played this card of winding up to get these negotiations moving again and get everybody back to the table.
Right.
This may have backfired, and that may have not been the plan of the government at all. They just wanted them to get to the table. Now what we have here is a very clever, I call Ismaili very, I never met the man.
Yeah.
But just based on how I see him move in media, just a logical approach to it. He's very clever, he's very cunning, he's very strategic. He knows what he's doing, and he's made some very, very key moves in this whole matter, to the point now where the government has to bend or break. There's something happening here, and it's not a pretty picture. Friday coming. Friday is 3 days away. Correct. Friday coming for sure. We know that. The laws of the Bahamas are there for sure. We have to go under our courts. The winding up is a certain thing under our laws, and so something has got to give. You're telling me now, just hearing you, that the big opening really is in the $200 million that the man has, that he's saying, look, I'm prepared to move the construction company out of the way, put in their 100 million, I put in my 100 million, and the bank put in 200 million. We got a deal, and the Bahamian workers are benefiting.
They're back on the job.
It's perfect. But now the trouble is, who wants to lose face on this?
I mean, okay.
The government of the Bahamas just sent our good friend, the beautiful Gibson, Maynard Gibson, up there, very competent, up there in China and Beijing. Right. And you have to consider now, the government cannot be looking as if they've been outmaneuvered politically. One. Two, they have been playing hardball with this man because they sense a little political play in this game and they don't like it. And you see the irritation here today. This is Bradley Roberts, the chairman of the PLP, who says, you, Diagla, you could do more to help, but you're around here beating up your gum, talking foolishness, lying to these Bahamian people, taking sides with your friend Ismailian at the disadvantage of the Bahamian people. He fails, and see, this is symptomatic of what the big picture is. That's what I'm saying to you. If this is the chairman making this statement, see, somebody else could have made the statement, you know.
Oh, Christie has said that it needs to be.
But the chairman has made this statement, and that makes it a political play. That's what I'm saying to you. Now, what does Diagla do? Does he come to hard copy and says Roberts is talking garbage and that's the end of it? Or does he now understand the card that has been played to him politically to go and talk with Sarkis and say, buddy, this is a good move. Let us go and talk to Christie some more on this and convince Christie that this has to happen, or court coming on Friday. Court coming on Friday can't have the government, because if he pays them off $60 million, they're the game. I asked the question to many lawyers from Sunday's show to yesterday's show. What's the government's alternative plan if they get paid?
I asked Mr. Ismailian that my very same self today.
Did you get an answer?
No, he says I'm weighing my options.
That's a serious thing.
Yeah.
So for a project that is this important.
Quite aware of it. Mm-hmm. He's quite aware of that option, and we'll see what he decides to play on Friday. I don't know. And he's right not to tell me, because you know, it's hard for me to keep my mouth shut sometimes. So
Robert say.
So it's clearly an option for him, but the Bahamian government has to decide. I mean, they all say, you know, the reason that we're doing this, or this winding up, is number one, to speed the project up and to get it done, and number two, to protect the interests of the Bahamian people. And then they run on about how it is them that are paying the workers of Bahama. And I'm like, Mr. Ismailian provided for that money in the Chapter 11 filing. I mean, clearly, if you've invested all this money in all these people,
but that too was a political move, I suppose, to make sure you neutralize him from having a state to control.
Yeah. But they're taking the $21 million they owe him for the road and using it to pay anyways. It ain't like the government of Bahamas paying them for it. They owe that money to Bahama anyway. Right. And instead of paying it to him, they just using it to pay the staff. I mean, you know, there's a little interesting caveat with that very few people know, and that was that, you know, that $21 million, Sarkis asked the government to pay it to him. When he indicated that it was gonna be paid to him, he informed the bank, and the bank said, no. If the government pay you that $21 million, you can't touch that money. That needs to go in escrow to you know, as collateral for the debt. And so Sarkis said, well, I promised the government that if I get that money, I'm going to pay salaries. So if I can't use that money, I'm going to send it back. So the money was wired from the government into his account, and he wired it back to them.
Is that right?
And that's what happened to that 21 million. And that's why when Bradley Roberts run on about that 21 million, that money came over to Ismailian, and then Ismailian says, look, I made a promise to the government that I would pay salaries with this, and the Chinese bank has told me that I can't touch that money. Take the money back. That's how honorable he is. That's what a good man he is. And that's why people don't, there's always a story behind a story, and that's what happened. So I think that when Mr. Roberts goes on about the fact how the Bahamian government is paying the people, that's the story. That's the story, and that's where he has never been. When China State, for example, refused and walked off the job, Mr. Ismailian kept his staff employed and going for 2 or 3 months afterwards, hoping and paying and funding out of his pocket this project to try and get China State to. I mean, they committed an illegal act. They broke their contract. They walked off the job. And they look you cold in the face. I remember there's a the president of China State is on our board, and he looked me cold in my face. He say, I ain't doing nothing until y'all pay me. Not a thing. Pay me my money. And that was it. And he's like, I ain't even talking to y'all. I don't even want even discuss nothing. Pay me my money.
So this is real bad, brother, because it's not working. Here's what Bradley Roberts said that is interesting. He says, what Diagle should be doing is spending his time convincing his personal friend to do the right thing for all parties involved instead of his harmful and unhelpful commentary. Let me just say this. Him saying that is the opening right of the door right there, that obviously they would like for you to do something, but you then tick them off, and he said it in a harsh way, but that is still there to be done. They need somebody who is as close as you are to Mr. Ismailian to talk some sense, so to speak, in his head, since they think he got no sense on this matter. And then you could have been doing that for your country and for the people. And that's what Roberts is saying in these angry words. He is saying that that's what you should be doing. Let me just take all the emotion aside for a second and say, let's look at the bare thing that Roberts is really saying. Man, Diagle, help a brother out. Diagle, you know us. We all together. Yeah. How come you ain't help us out? Are you prepared to sit with this man? And I'm sure you being the businessman that you are, you've said a number of things to him, but he too has his own mind. But are you prepared? This, in spite of all that is happening now, all this rowing and bickering that's happening, to hear Roberts, through his anger, appeal to you as a player that can help this thing to ease away and to come together.
I perfectly understand what the government of the Bahamas is attempting to do. And I am just as much a Bahamian as he is. And I am equally, I mean, the more people that are employed at Bahama, the more people go wash the superwash. I mean, it's just to boil it down into its simple form. Obviously, this is not a decision, these decisions that are not being made lightly. And obviously, we want this project to come to fruition. I mean, before, for example, we took that Chapter 11 decision, I mean, that was an extremely painful and long and painful decision for me to take. I personally called every single board member and said to them, talked to them one-on-one. I say, you sure this is the right decision? Is this something that we really want to consider? Have we exhausted all of our possible avenues? And, Mr. Ismailian said to me, he said, look, Denisha, I'm burning $10 to $15 million a month keeping this thing going. And the Chinese are just not taking me on. China State is just not taking me on. There's only so much of this 10 to 15 million a month that I can take. I need to get their attention. They're not taking me on. They just shut me out and pulled all their workers off the site. And, I don't know what else to do.
So was this move made to get their attention more so than anything else?
Well, you just face it, right? You get to the end of March, they don't meet the deadline. You're completely embarrassed. The guests that have booked vacations, there's one chap left Superwash, and he is one of the greeters at the airport. And he told me the other day, he said, Denisha, do you know how painful it is for those guests who arrive in the Bahamas thinking that they're going to Bahama and there's no Bahama?
The taxi drivers tell me that someone has to tell the people that Bahama's not open because they're still getting people come there say, we want to go to Bahama.
Yeah. So he said people who had booked holidays, and it's embarrassing, painful, expensive. You have to spend millions of dollars reimbursing or giving people comparable vacations. So there's that. There's carrying all the stuff, keeping the air conditioning on, paying people, and there's no revenue coming in. And they're like, hey, tough. We didn't meet the deadline, but I need my $72 million. Okay, we didn't make it. So sorry. But, I need my $72 million. And you're like, okay, so what's the new date? Okay, the new date is this. So what's going to happen if you don't meet that deadline? What happened the last time? Ain't nothing happened. We just didn't make it. And so that's the frustration that you need to negotiate in good faith.
Well, listen,
and everybody, and what I find, I speak to my PLP friends, right? And they say, man, tell Sarkis to make a deal, man. Make a deal. Tell him to put the money in, man. Let him just make a deal. I'm like, it takes two people to make a deal, You calling up the Chinese and telling them that? Tell China State to make a deal.
Yeah.
It takes two to make a deal, and all you're trying to do is to say, okay, we're late, and people have to pay for that. So everybody put some more money in. Okay, fine, we agree on the money. But now we got some real hard deadlines. Are you going to make those deadlines?
Yeah.
And if you don't make those deadlines, you prepared to pay? No. Well, then I can't take you serious.
Yeah. There's
so
no
this
guarantee.
is the problem. I need you to. There's going to be, one of the contractors who built the road, the new Cable Beach Road, said there was a penalty clause in their contract that if they didn't hit it, they didn't finish it on the day it was done, was going to be $50,000 a day penalties for not completing that road on time. $50,000 a day. 10 days would be $500,000. And those are Bahamian companies. 6 weeks early.
They finish.
Project was 6 weeks early, and all Bahamian
did a
workers
beautiful job.
And did a beautiful job. And that's why he's saying, I could work with Bahamians. You give them, you set deadlines and you set penalties, man. They lick to them and they focus and they get it done.
Even they got to close down the road and then detour you someplace
man,
else.
Whatever, $50,000 a day, mother sick boy. You have that open, I don't care what.
Well, listen. What is happening here now, though, is that we are at an impasse. This must be seriously considered, Mr. Dionisio Diaglo. This has to be
I would think that I've been told that it's there's been some movement today. There's been some movement in the negotiations.
If you're on hard copy, you can break the news.
I mean, I don't know. I don't know what
some move like what.
Yeah, there's been some concessions.
Meridian has decided to sit with
both
them.
of the parties have, Allison. I mean, I love Allison Maynard Gibson. She's a good friend of mine, and I'm sure she's applying the pressure and she's bringing the parties together and she's trying to, mesh and mold two difficult negotiating parties who've probably gotten their hair up and their egos have been hurt, and she's trying to mesh and mold them together. And I commend the government for going over there, and I advise them to stay there until they have a deal. Just make it work. Just mesh and mold. And you know what? Never underestimate the power of the organs of state.
Oh, no.
Now, when you have the power of the organs of state, I mean, Hubert Ingram always used that expertly. No matter how, we're no bigger than Dade County, but we are a sovereign nation. And I'm saying that the government of the Bahamas can use the power of the organs of state to make a deal. And they can come in at the end of the day, right? Okay, this, and this. We are the government of the Bahamas, and this is what we think we could, try to do a bit. Okay, you compromise here, you compromise. Seem to be fair, seem to pull the parties together and make the deal happen. So, while a lot of pressure has been applied to Mr. Ismail, a lot of pressure can be applied to the other side.
And a lot of pressure.
Don't be intimidated by the People's Republic of China. They may be 1.3 billion, but we're 350,000 strong. So,
and they want to be here.
Yeah, we're 180 miles from the United States of America.
Yeah,
you got to understand.
We talked about geopolitics before, so I understand that.
Yeah, that's
but the government of the Bahamas has got to have the cojones to push those buttons at that particular table.
Absolutely.
Though they're not at home. They've got to have the cojones to do it.
Yes.
And she's got to know that when the prime minister gives a carte blanche to go, and as I told him one time, turn him loose.
Yeah.
If he turns her loose to do what she must do, with his guidance, of course, and the blessing, then the job is get it done and get back home quickly, because time.
I was a little surprised that they went, but now that they're there and they've traveled all that way, luckily this time around they haven't gone with half the government of the Bahamas.
We made note of that.
Yeah, so maybe it's a much smaller team, and
but don't come
Allison
back.
is the minister Maynard Gibson is a very tenacious individual, and she can make things happen if she wants to, and I just to seemingly bring the parties together and to be seemingly fair. Okay, you give this, you give that, and you give this and you give that, and say, just try to bring the parties together. I always say,
but I like how you say that. You say she has to seemingly. I'm a man of words. I like when you use the right words, because the words tell me everything.
Yeah.
You say she needs to seemingly bring the parties together. That could also give us the perception that she doesn't really have to do it. But she could seem to be the one massaging it and
Yes.
bringing it together. And the rest is up to those bruised egos to say, you know something, let us do this and let us do that so that we can have a project.
Yeah.
But do you think that, see, Ismailian strikes me as the man who is determined with the resolve that if he says this ain't gonna happen no more like that, that's what he means. He don't seem to be a fella who would make some noise and then back off. And that's what my concern is now. He is dogmatic about this Chinese construction company finishing this project. He has no faith in them. He don't like them. If he could hold them all down and slap them all down, he'd do it. That's what I gather from him. That's what I really gather from
Probably
him.
correct.
So my thing is this. Can there be a breakthrough?
Okay, can the relationship be salvaged?
Yes, in this late in
Well,
the game.
clearly, that's plan A, and that still remains plan A.
Yeah.
Is to have a relationship. It's much easier to, I mean, even if we brought Bahamian contractors in, right, to grasp the position of general contractor, which is, I'm sure China State has a lot of relationships with a lot of different people, and you know, where did they get the fire alarm system from, and where did they buy this, and to get all this sort of all the stuff up to speed, to get the whole project up to speed would take a considerable amount of time. So it's, you know, even though this divorce has been messy,
It's still salvageable.
It's still plan A.
Yeah,
that's still plan A, and I think it would be disingenuous for Bahama to be in China and Beijing if that wasn't plan A.
Okay, so they are showing that
yes.
so this whole thing about not showing good faith is rubbish because they're still there. So that
just
being there is a part of.
I mean, what Bahama objected to was that they felt that sometimes they were just negotiating with themselves.
Yeah,
because they would make overtures to China State, and China State, you know, would always say, okay, well, we got to go back and mull about it. So that would take 3 or 4 days, and if they responded, it was just burning through time. And Bahama got frustrated with the fact that they felt that they were negotiating with themselves, and I think that was in the paper yesterday. So, hopefully, Allison has been able to draw them together, put them in a room, shut the door. Okay, let's sit here and work this out.
In your heart of hearts, Mr. Nisi on the Aguilar, you've been close to the matter. You got business savvy. You know these things. You're respected in this whole area of management and the rest of it, and organizing and all that. You've been in charge of Chamber of Commerce. You've met and dealt with all kinds of people. Sarkis is said to be close to you as far as you know him personally, and you're part of the board. Do you believe that we can actually have this matter resolved within the next 3 months? That's my first question.
You mean the project open?
The project
open?
The people sitting down at the table agreeing to each other.
They call it beds. Oh, you mean not beds and heads?
No, not heads and beds.
Heads and beds, yeah.
Yeah, but the fact that we have a deal, they will continue the project. I'm asking you this. Do you believe that there's not light at the end of the tunnel, but that this project will still work with plan A, which is to get the same parties to make it happen? After all the wrangling, do you, in your heart of hearts, do you see it? Knowing what you know.
Difficult, but yes.
I
think what will happen now is there will be such oversight and such scrutiny to this project, but the government ain't gonna take their eye off this no more.
Right.
And I think everybody in the Bahamas gonna be watching for milestone dates. When's this supposed to be done? When's this supposed to be done? Why isn't it done? What's happening? So I think that it really is maybe 3 or 4 months to complete the project.
Yeah,
so you got 3 or 4 months to be, and then you got a punch list to complete items. So maybe the construction company will be there for at least another 6 months. To finish off the project. So for the next 6 months, yes, I could bite my bottom lip and I could live with this spouse of mine that I don't particularly like, but I can kiss and make up for 6 months at least, and can bring it to fruition. And I think everybody will be watching that they hit the milestone dates and that are set.
Here's something we're not clear on. We keep hearing this talk about the heads of agreement that talks about a 3-year period for a clause to be utilized if the project is not completed. We are 2 years out from completion. Well, actually, we've been building this project now. The first deadline was the December
the 8th of
last year. Then you're now almost in another December, so that'll be 2 years.
Really, a year late, yeah.
Yeah, so
a year late. It'll be a year late.
So there's really no need to worry. What I'm getting at, I'm asking the question: would there be a need to be very overly concerned about this clause that's in the heads of agreement that I've been told of? I've not seen it, but I've been told of the clause that's been utilized from a propagandized point of view by those who are contrary to a number of things and who seem to be against the developer now. They've been saying a whole lot that, look, we have this option of utilizing that particular clause as an exit out of this project if, in fact, it's not completed at the time that is said to be within that 3-year period.
In my opinion, that's a nuclear option.
Okay.
That's the,
the only reason it came up basically is because the government has put this thing on the table
I think
with
that
the winding up.
They threw
and the idea is, what do you go to now if the winding up is paid off? If the man gives you this money,
yes,
which I believe in my heart of hearts he's prepared to give right away. Yeah. I believe this man has more money than he's saying. He's found some money.
Saying that he has any money. He's just saying. I mean, people always try to judge his wealth. He's a wealthy man.
No, I'm not judging his wealth. I believe he is. See, what I'm saying, the reason for the winding up, Mr. Yagler, and any business thing that you would know, is that the man is insolvent. This business was insolvent. So that's why you have to file for Chapter 11.
Yeah.
You ain't got no money is what the perception is. Now, that ain't mean you broke. You ain't got enough money to do the things you want to do, but you still got $2.
Yeah.
So let's look at this. If he's come up now and found $200 million, and he needs to pay off $60 million if he has to play that card, which could happen on Friday morning. That in itself is a victory, in my opinion, if he is able to pay that off to the Bahamas government. It's a victory for the Bahamas government that they're able to get that, and the project can still continue. But Ismailian stays in the game, because the Prime Minister, as you remember, he said when they filed for this liquidation, this provisional liquidation for the courts to appoint these liquidators, that the idea at the end of the day would be that Mr. Ismailian is not going to be at the forefront of that project, having any kind of say while those provisional liquidators are in place. I don't believe that Ismailian wants that to happen at all. So I'm thinking that, and I'm asking you, if you were him, would you have $60 million ready to pay?
Well, I agree with you. I would not want to lose control of the project, and that certainly would be one of the options to do to prevent that.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's important that he remains in control of the project, just because he's been the captain of the ship.
Yeah, he has the information,
and he has the embedded knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think that it's in anyone's interest, and especially the Commonwealth of the Bahamas, in their interest that he is taken out.
With Mr. Roberts making this statement here, do you sense that there's a little bit of anxiety that they realize?
Well, okay, let's look at the politics, right?
See, but what I'm saying, hear me now. Do you suppose that with Mr. Roberts' statement, okay, that there's a sense of anxiety here, all things considered, that the government may have very well inadvertently backed themselves into a corner because of the winding up that they were the ones to initiate?
Yeah, I think they were very quick and quick to judge.
And do you suppose that now this political theater that's beginning to play out is a part of trying to butt some heads and get some sense, but play the cards that we know how to play best, and that is the cards of politics?
Yeah.
That we can now spin this and say, look, this man, Dionisio Yagler, better stop doing fool.
Yeah, I'm un-Bahamian.
He needs to stop his foolishness and go and talk to Sarkis.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
Well, I mean, that has been told to me. Tell the man to make a deal.
Mm-hmm.
That has been told to me, and in no uncertain terms, on many occasions by many people of Mr. Roberts' party, the BLP, and they are telling me that you think about it. Christie has put his legacy in the hands of Bahama.
Yes, he has.
This is his legacy, right? And now everything has gone horribly wrong. Okay, so we've got to correct this problem. The politics of it, we have to correct this problem for a number of reasons. Number one is the legacy. But number two, the Bahamas government has been incapable of growing our economy in any other way, in any meaningful way. Our GDP growth has been anemic at best, 1% at best.
Yes.
We are potentially up for a downgrade by the rating agencies.
Yeah.
So this is a problem for them. And I get that. And they are very nervous about this. And aren't we all? All of us. I mean, I live here. My business is here. I got 100% of my net worth is in the Bahamas. This is where I've gone all in with the Bahamas. This is where I live. This is where I have my business. This is where I make my living. So it's in all of our interests that this come about. And I can understand the only thing that the message that I get from Mr. Roberts' vitriolic message is that maybe they've gone all in with one side of the deal, and they have been, I'm always fearful that, the Chinese government have said to Christie, don't worry, we got you back. We got you straight. we can make you come out of this smiling. But you gotta wait for us. You gotta make it happen.
Yeah, he probably got hooked in.
And I'm just saying, hold it now. You know, I'm a Bahamian too, and I don't want so much of my GDP in the controls of the agencies of any foreign government.
No.
So tread cautiously, tread judiciously.
Everybody has said that.
Yeah. So don't, you know, if Bahama is supposed to contribute 12% of our GDP or GDP, so you got that, you've got the Hilton, you've got Bay Street, you've got Freeport, you've got agencies of a foreign government controlling 18% of your GDP. That is a lot. They have a lot of sway over you, and that is not good.
No.
You don't want all of your eggs in one basket.
And since we like this word sovereign country, hey, wake up.
Yeah.
That
So you don't want, this is not good. And as you know, for people operating this Bahama, at the end of the day, you want someone who lives down the road from you. Mr. Christie can get in his car and drive out to Life Key with Mrs. Malian and they could talk. Or Mrs. Malian could drive up to Cable Beach and talk to Mr. Christie and they could talk. But when you've got this sort of, this agency of a foreign government, who you can talk to?
Well, we got a good example. The good example recently, Diaglo, was that, listen, we cannot accommodate you because we didn't make any arrangements to host a foreign head of state. So we can't do this.
What was that all about? What is that all about?
Let me take a call as we run to the break. Dionisio Diaglo is my special guest of interest today. We're talking Bahama. Bradley Roberts has gone wild on his brilliant on Dionisio Diaglo, and has said a number of things, including he said that, you know, he wants him basically to, you know, say,
shut up.
In light of the role of Mr. Diaglo played in the current mess, blames you for this mess, he says, he should do the Bahamian people a favor and keep his advice to himself. When the public needs advice on washing clothes, we will turn to him and tell them no thanks. That's what Bradley Roberts told Dionisio Diaglo today in the press release. Let's take your calls. 325-0235 or 6. We're going to take some more calls after the break, but let's take this call from out east. Hi there, Hard Copy. How are you?
Hey, good afternoon, Mr. McKinney. How you doing?
Very good, thanks.
And good afternoon to Mr. Diaglo.
Good afternoon, sir.
Mr. McKinney, you know, I don't agree. I don't disagree with anything that Mr. Diaglo is saying today. I agree wholeheartedly. The way, and just to add to the way I see it, it appears to me as if it's just as I'm speaking from or referring to the government. What I see is just, you know, just a diplomatic way of being a bunch of petty, you know, crybabies. You know, they're stuck on the sovereignty. And my only understanding is that Mr. Christie has actually taken the heart, even though he's saying, you know, let's deal with this matter with calmness. I believe that he has taken the heart, you know, the fact that, you know, Mrs. Marillion has actually called him out and has made some statements because, I mean, it to me is so obvious. I mean, and it also says to me that, you know, it's so amazing how money and numbers really register to these people, you know, who sit in high offices. Because every day I listen to the talk shows and I hear Bahamians, you know, they speak very badly. You know, not only Bahamians, but, you know, even some foreigners, they speak very badly, you know, about this government and the way they run the country, but yet they pay absolutely no attention to them. But there it is, Mr. Million, based on his own experience, from going through what he may have went through with this government, you know, he's just speaking, you know, the truth. Mr. Diaglo, I just have one question for you. What about this statement of shoddy work? Does this mean that eventually Bahama will have to be demolished, or does this, I mean, is this really an issue? Because I'm not really hearing a discussion being made about, you know, the fact that there has been shoddy work in the hotel. Thank you, gentlemen.
I appreciate your call.
You know, not wanting to raise the temperature level in the room, that topic has been politely ignored. And you're already fighting over money and you're fighting over deadlines and the quality of the work. Bahama has often said that they want a first-class facility because they're going to be dealing with first-class. They're trying to market themselves to first-class, high-end guests. And there have been problems and there have been quality issues that have been brought to their attention. I don't know if it's been any more so than any other project, but if I go around what I hear at the board level, and you talk to your friends who are in the contracting business, yeah, they say there have been problems. There's definitely been problems, and there's definitely been shoddy workmanship, and there have been issues. But you know, that's why you have. I mean, the developer has people to oversee that, and to judge the quality of the work, and that's how it comes to light as it goes on. For example, if you're putting in railings and the railings don't withstand the pressure and they pop off, and you know the railing ain't no good.
Yeah.
And then you correct it and move on.
All right.
So, you know, have there been issues like that on the project? Absolutely. And has the developer complained about them? Absolutely.
Colin Higgs said, he's the permanent secretary of the Ministry of Works. He had made a number of statements just recently about things that were not done, checks and balances that should have been done, that would have necessitated or would have cost for them to give a what you call occupancy certificate under the things that, well, based on the list of things that he mentioned just recently in the media, it doesn't seem as if the opening would have been as eminent as they thought it would have been or should have been. When they said they were looking at March 27th, he looked at a number of things that says that no, this couldn't possibly be. I mean, because of the checklist that just did not work out.
You know, when you're a developer, right, and you hire a contractor to build your hotel, they deal with that. They're the ones that deal with the Ministry of Works and who are intimately involved in making sure that you're complying with all the local regulations and you're getting the necessary approvals along the way, so that when you get to the end of the project, the certificate of occupancy is something that's fairly straightforward to get. And the developer keeps asking, are you getting this done? Are you getting this done? That's all they can do. They're not actually building the hotel. They've contracted with China State to build it. Are you doing it? And so the fact that Mr. Higgs is making those comments is indicative of the fact that they weren't doing what they're supposed to do.
This is Hard Copy. We got to run to a break. When I come back, my lines are wide open for you. I see Anton is queued up on the line. We'll get you in a minute on 5. Those of you wanting to get into the show to talk with Mr. Diaghilev, this is a good time. I'm happy that he's come, actually, because we're getting to understand from a bird's eye view some things that we've not heard from others. It's been very secretive from the government side as to what really these very, very touchy negotiations have been about. They've not been saying too much. We just know that we have a problem, but we don't know the level of the problem. You heard some interesting things today from Mr. Diaghilev about what the real concerns really are. What do you think? Let's talk. 325-0235 or 6. 325-0242 or 43. 325-0252 or 53. You can send me a text at 376-9234. This is Hard Copy. We're back after these words.
When I fly with Sky. Sky Bahamas. When I fly with Sky. Sky Bahamas. The plane them spanking clean. The pilots them voice red. They fly you out on time. They flight attendants red. Service is their passion. With you they take good care. Safety is their culture. Yes, they'll get you there. When I fly.
Fly with us to Fort Lauderdale or the beautiful Bahama Islands. Book today at 702-2600 or visit our website at skybahamas.net and experience Sky.
The Bahamian words of the day is madness and mod. Madness is what Commonwealth might get going on with this loan special. They're giving away free trips, free spending money, free iPod, laptops, and a credit card. You know you need a credit card.
Commonwealth Bank Summer Madness Special is here to make sure your summer is a happy one. Come into any branch to find out how you can win big this summer with Commonwealth Bank.
Now, mod is what you could be if you missed this Commonwealth Bank loan special. You could be mod. Trust me, you could be mod.
A business without a sign is a sign of no business. To not be in the directory is as if your business does not exist. My name is Diane Knowles. My company is Security Forwarding Service.
Get listed and upgrade by advertising in the BTC directory today. BTC, every day.
Executive Printers. We're professionals. At Executive Printers, we do not participate in trash talk. We concern ourselves with the accuracy and security of your laser check. That is why we put 15 securities on your laser checks. This is not trash. This is fact. It makes fraud almost impossible. Call us today at Executive Printers at 393-5011 or or email us at sales@epbahamas.com. That's sales@epbahamas.com. Executive printers, laser checks. We do them right.
What's hotter than summertime in the Bahamas? A Junkanoo and Gumbe summer in the Bahamas. Get ready for one sizzling summer with two exciting street festivals. First up is Junkanoo Summer Festival every Saturday in July. Come see your favorite Junkanoo groups face off at Arawak Key. And while you're there, enjoy mouth-watering Bahamian cuisine and entertainment. The heat continues into August with the return of the Gumbe Summer Festival. Yes, you heard right. Gumbe is back. Join us every Friday in August at Arawak Key for live Bahamian music, delicious local cuisine, authentically Bahamian arts and crafts, and lots of games and entertainment. Junkanoo Summer Festival and Gumbe Summer Festival, brought to you by the Ministry of Tourism. See you every Saturday in July and every Friday in August. Visit bahamas.com/summerfestivals for more details.
You're joking, right? I'm not reading that. Who approved this? You want Mr. Roberts mad at me, eh? Really? So you're showing now. Okay, then. Here goes. This week's specials at Super Value and Quality Supermarket include Sawyer's mayonnaise, the 32-ounce jar, $2.99. Kraft macaroni and cheese, a quarter-ounce box, 99 cents. Kellogg's Raisin Bran Crunch cereal, 43 1/3-ounce box, $8.99. Value Time towels, 1 roll, 99 cents. Boneless chicken breast, $2.89 per pound. Too good to believe. That's Super Value and Quality Supermarkets.
The best insurance in town is Advantage Insurance on Collins Avenue. They are simply the best because they provide easy, affordable insurance rates for home, car, business, or whatever is valuable or important to you. Advantage Insurance and Brokers, 61 Collins Avenue, is the fastest, most progressive insurance company in the Bahamas because they really take care of you by making insurance totally affordable. Call them now at 356-0285 or 6, or email them at info@advantagebahamas.com.
Well, what in the world you got in these suitcases you told in the superwash?
Rachel come home with this cat. It's a pretty cat now. But he ain't getting toilet things down park yet.
So he going on the rug?
On the rug? I wish it was only the rug. Homeboy baptized our couch with some of that territory marking spray what they just use.
Well, why don't you get one janitorial service to come in and clean rather than carrying all these cushions to the wash house?
I do that. Now it smell like pine-scented parking lot after Junkanoo. So these going to superwash.
That cat pee no match with them big boys now, I can tell you that.
You got that right. And when I get them dry, they're going straight to the composter for plastic covering.
I don't blame you, girl. But what you gonna do with the cat?
He going obedient training where he gonna learn how to use the toilet.
You mean the litter box?
No. I mean the toilet. He gonna learn how to doggone use that toilet, or he could be in timeout all day.
Hey, Superwash. They washes your presses, it cleans you, and entertains you 24/7.
The choices we make can make us, like who we turn to for investment and retirement advice. Choosing CFAL means having a trusted advisor on your side, helping you build wealth and meet your financial goals. We manage pension assets for businesses and offer individual plans to help you design a secure retirement. We can provide brokerage services and comprehensive research support for clients needing a little more investment guidance. CFAL can help you build a portfolio you can be proud of. Visit us at cfal.com. CFAL sees your future.
Now this right here is madness. My kids want to go everywhere. Disney World, SeaWorld, Zimbabwe. Zimbabwe?
Commonwealth Bank Summer Madness Special is here to make sure your summer is a happy one with lots of prizes and giveaways. Don't miss your chance to win big this summer with Commonwealth Bank.
Commonwealth Bank Summer Madness. Can help me with some of my madness. Yeah, I can need to win that travel voucher.
At Ron's Electric Motors, they repair and rewind all major brands of electric motors, including water pumps, generators, and the generator's back end, welding machines, electric lifts, air compressors, battery chargers, and more. They're equipped to handle up to 850 kilowatts and rewind up to 450 horsepower motors. They're conveniently located on the corner of Wolf and Clarence Roads and are open weekdays 8 a.m. to 5 p.m., Saturdays till noon. They offer 24 hours emergency assistance. You can reach them on 242-356-0249.
At Henry F. Story Electric Company, we supply all your electric needs for any size project, from residential housing to luxury hotels. We can help you achieve just the right look, from doorbells to chandeliers, table lamps to ceiling fans, wire, conduit, panels, dimmers, switches, plugs, and even tools. And don't forget light bulbs. We have those hard-to-find energy-saving fluorescent bulbs and more. Henry F. Story Electric, number 135 Matthew Street. Over 50 years of reliability, service, and low prices. We also ship to the Family Islands.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, the National Art Gallery of the Bahamas, that big yellow building on top of West Hill Street, invites you to visit and see paintings, sculpture, and art. Normally, there's an admission fee, but listen here. Thanks to the generosity of the Central Bank of the Bahamas, in celebration of the Bahamas' independence, admission is free for all Bahamians and residents for the entire month of July. I bet you didn't bank on that. Bring your mama, papa, grandma, grandpa, aunties, uncles, cousins, friends, brothers, and sisters. Make it a treat for the whole family. It's the National Art Gallery of the Bahamas, keeping the faith. Closed on Mondays. Open Tuesday through Saturday, 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. Sundays from noon until 4 p.m. Be there.
Great news! We have a chance to experience the magic of the Rio 2016 Olympic Games, courtesy of Visa.
That's great, but did you really need another bathing suit?
I'm just showing my support for the swimming event.
And the skirt?
For the tennis, babe.
So these high heel shoes must be for track and field then.
Of course not. They're for the nightlife. We're going to Rio, aren't we?
It's easy. Get approved for a Visa RBC credit card or use your existing Visa RBC credit or debit card for a chance to win. Visa, worldwide sponsor of the Olympic Games. Call or visit any RBC branch for more info.
Over the decades, Bahamians have trusted New Oriental Cleaners because New Oriental Cleaners provides quality common care, friendly service, and satisfied customers. Guaranteed. With more than 50 years of experience, we are here for you. Stop in at any of our 9 locations throughout Nassau. New Oriental Cleaners, keeping you looking good is our pride and joy. New Oriental Cleaners. Like us on Facebook and be the first to know of our many promotions.
There's no other talk show like the show. If it's 5 o'clock, it's Hard Copy.
Welcome back to Hard Copy. I'm Steve McKinney. Denisio the Igler's with me. We're talking this Bahama deal, and we're getting news out of China that something great has happened from a point of view where the government sits in their, I suppose, mediation. They are being a part of the talks headed by Alice Minard Gibson in Beijing, China. They're on their way back home now, as I understand it, but some information that's coming out tells us that they've made some moves. Some inroads have been made, but there's still a sticky wicket point about who's going to guarantee what as far as this new deal that has taken shape today. Let me just look at some information here, just going over it, because a lot of this information that is now being talked about is being embargoed for a bit. But let me just tell you, my understanding is that this new financing proposed for Bahama, this proposal is that Bahama would include $200 million in a new, Bahama would include $200 million in a new.
Well, what would happen is that the bank would put up, the bank would extend $200 million.
That's right.
Would bank $200 million to the project.
Mm-hmm. And this is over and above. There's still the amount still available under the existing credit facility.
Yeah.
And Exim Bank has insisted that its new $200 million credit extension be guaranteed by the contractor and or the developer. Now, this is interesting here. The developer has proposed to provide a standby letter of credit to back $25 million of the new $200 million credit extension. And the contractor is offered to guarantee the remaining $175 million on the condition that it receives a corresponding guarantee by the developer. That's
It's called a back-to-back guarantee.
Back-to-back
so I can
guarantee.
guarantee it if you guarantee me.
Right, and that's where the sticky point is.
That's the messy point.
That's the messy point there, because it is who's going to guarantee who now here, and
so essentially what they want is for Sarkis to guarantee the full 200 million.
Right.
And he,
I don't think
he
he's
on that run.
No,
he's not guaranteed.
So while we've made some inroads with new monies into the project,
everybody's agreed to put up 400 million. So you've crossed that threshold. Bahamas agreed to drop its Chapter 11. It's agreed to drop its lawsuit in London. Assuming these conditions.
But last week this wasn't the case. But now he's agreed to do that.
And in the spirit of making a deal. And now it comes to so the bank. So China State is putting up 100 million. Bahamas putting up 100 million, and the bank is putting up 200 million. And the bank says, 200 million, we need it to be guaranteed by the developer and or the
contractor.
The contractor. So Bahamas says, okay, I put up 100.
Right.
I'll guarantee 25. The
25 million. Yeah.
25 of the bank's 200.
Right.
And China State says it'll guarantee the remaining 175 on the condition it receives a guarantee from Bahama. So I'm sure the two of them can move to some equitable position where they can both address this issue. But that's
so when from where you sit now, even though this news is coming, it's a little fresh news. Some advancement has been made, but it isn't all of that we can call mum bound and say, hey, we got to go.
Yeah, we ain't got to go yet.
We ain't got to go yet.
We ain't got to go yet. I don't think we got to go yet. And I'm sure it will once more come across that Bahama is being intransigent, and it's important to find out from them why they only agree to guarantee the portion that they guarantee. So I'll ask him that when I see him.
But the good thing is that Alison Maynard Gibson would have done some kind of a commendable job
Yeah,
to get to this particular point.
I think it's always helpful when you go there and you push the parties together. And I think this is the last time she went, she came home with nothing. So this time
she got a little something.
Yeah, this time I think that
but Friday
she's edged them towards, and then we'll see what the last time she came home, the prime minister got up and spoke to the nation. So let's see what he says when she come home this time.
But listen here, but Friday's still coming.
Yeah, so Friday's still coming.
If he's going to speak to the nation, it's going to have to be between tonight and tomorrow night.
Today's
Thursday.
Yeah.
By Thursday. Thursday night. The last time it was a Thursday night too. Because they go to court on Friday morning, because Friday's still coming. They have to still show up to court. This is now in play.
Yes.
So this is where now, see, when you look at what is happening here, I'm wondering if Merlin is counting monies, because he said he had $200 million. Let's do some math quickly now. Let's see. Yeah. So he puts up 100 million. He's guaranteed 25 million.
Yeah.
He has how much more money left? 75 million, because he got to pay the Bahamas government 60 million just in case. I'm only going by what he said he has.
Yeah.
So Friday coming, and that $60 million may be in place. Plus, there's also Cable Bahamas, who has something that I believe that will come to a couple of $1 million. So that may be a 60 million off the top.
I mean, the government of the Bahamas can be quite, this is why I say that the organs of state can be quite frustrating, because in order for Mr. Ismailian to come in and pay his money, right, he always has to bring the money in. And in order to bring the money in, he needs exchange control approval.
Yes.
I understand that has not been forthcoming.
Wait a second now. So that brings up another picture.
So these are the tactics and the nuances of the organs of state, that I say that if you want to come in and you want to pay something off,
you mean we ain't want to get paid?
I mean, this
and if we ain't want to get paid, why we ain't want to get paid? And we need that money.
These are the tactics that can be deployed in order to make things go the way you need it to go. That's why I say, the organs of state are quite strong and quite powerful.
Let's take a call on the line. 325-023516. Yes, reconcile. Is this Anton? Anton, how are you?
Yes, sir, I'm great. How about yourself?
Thank you, kindly. All is well.
Excellent. Good afternoon to yourself. Good afternoon to yes, Mr. Diagala. Good afternoon to the nation.
Good afternoon.
I just have a few quick points. Mr. Diagala, are you one of the directors of Bahama?
I'm sorry, what did you say?
If you're one of the directors.
Yes, I am, yes.
Okay, great. Wasn't it agreed and announced by Bahama Group leader Sarkis Ismailian recently, people happenings regarding the processes involved in the negotiation between the actual parties in this private process? And why, and if so, why all the press releases then? And now you're on hard copy in the hot seat. It is my understanding further in the Prime Minister's address regarding this matter that he will ensure that Bahamians are well informed as it relates to this process. Okay, that's the first point. It also seems highly irresponsible to my mind, based on what you said earlier, and enlightening the Bahamian people today, that as it relates to opening deadlines being missed on several occasions by China's State Construction of America, which actually cost the Bahama Group tens of billions of dollars, based on what you said, up to this point. And the Bahama Group just sat idly and endured such major losses. I find it very difficult to digest in real terms. Okay, and then if relationships were established before with leading brands such as Rosewood, Hyatt, etc., by Mr. Ismailian, whom they didn't know before, clearly it's possible to reestablish the same or even stronger relationships with these leading brands, in particular with the support of the Bahamian government and strong financing in place. And finally, as an independent thinking Bahamian on principles and outlined in agreements, in contract, in the heads of agreements, I would have serious concerns about the Bahamas government reneging on their express legal agreements, even to incorporate Bahamian contractors in the completion of the Bahama project, as it should concern Bahamians the same if any foreign direct investor would suggest such a course be taken. And here's why. In so doing, the government of the Bahamas will come across as untrustworthy, even in the face of a legal contract with a major foreign direct investor. What does such a move do to the Bahamas government's reputation internationally in terms of securing more quality investors in the future? And how can even Bahamians trust their own government if the Bahamas government does such a thing? A move as such, to my mind, can't just be based on job creation and kill the very trust our government has worked so very hard to have. I'll rest. Thank you very much, gentlemen.
Thank you for your call. Where do you start from?
Yeah, the gentleman had some valid points. There was four of them, and I can't remember three of them. But the one that does stick in my brain, and I apologize for that. My brain is so full of stuff right now that it's very hard for me to remember all these things.
You're strategizing.
Yeah.
Based on that breaking news that we got a short time ago.
I cannot impress upon people enough that when you go out and you hire a general contractor, and some people have said you should have fired them a long time ago if you felt that they weren't meeting your milestone dates. But that decision was not made. And while we were very well aware that they were not hitting milestone dates, because obviously the developer has people working on his side that are watching and monitoring the project, and the bank insisted that that there are people who are on the developer's side watching and monitoring the project, that we were well aware that they weren't hitting these milestone dates. And our position was to talk and try to move them along and try to bring out an amicable solution to a very vexing problem. And I cannot impress upon people the amount of time that we spent trying to address this issue. It's not like we sort of got to March the 27th and said, oh my God, they're not done. We were well aware that we were hitting the wall very fast, but other than firing the contractor, which the agreement with the bank does not allow you to do, you have to work with what you have. And that's what we were trying to do in the best and most professional way that we possibly can. I mean, the journey along this has been littered with MOUs, memorandums of understanding, where people get ahead, okay, we're going to do this, we're going to do this, and we're going to do this. And unfortunately, what we found was, even though we made a concerted effort to make these agreements with the construction company to improve the making these milestone dates, unfortunately, they were in many instances in vain. So I can say that.
You are part of the board. You know Sarkis very well. You almost can calculate how he's thinking. I get the impression here, based upon this information that we have in bits and pieces coming across our wire about the meeting that happened in Beijing as they wrap up now. They're headed back home to the Bahamas. Alice and Mina and the team to meet with the Prime Minister sometime tonight and perhaps advise him and give him the briefing. But I get the impression that Sarkis, though he was not there at the table, they came to some compromise on this whole matter in Beijing. And the fact that there's no real guarantee like the XM, not XM, but the Chinese construction company were looking for. Ismailian obviously authorized that there's a $25 million guarantee instead of what they were really looking at. What do you gather from that? Knowing him, what could be going on in his mind? On a very serious note, because it occurred to me that he perhaps is still not a happy camper with this whole matter. And while we have moved a little ahead, we really don't have anything to celebrate just yet. But at least there's been some movement.
Oh, there's been some definite points agreed to. It hasn't all been in vain, and I think that Bahama has, as I said earlier, have agreed to drop the Chapter 11, agreed to stop the lawsuit. Have agreed. I think Bahama were claiming $70 million of extra work, and even though the professionals that value the work said it was worth zero,
right? Yeah,
that they've agreed to pay $35 million.
Mhm.
I think that they have made some headway.
Right.
It's just they have not yet sealed the deal. And as Friday approaches, unfortunately, I think the entity, the negotiating entity that's penalized the most is going to be Bahama. So I guess on that day, at that time, you'll have to make a business decision.
Yeah. Well, just for those persons who are just joining us, we're getting some information now on these negotiations that have concluded for the time over in Beijing, and Allison Maynard and her team coming back home. Part of that tells us that during the four-party talks, the parties arrived at several proposed compromises. While urging the parties to arrive at an agreement during the talks, XM, that's the bank, pointed out that the contract documents between the parties stipulates that the cost overrun should be borne by the developer and that the contractor should finish the project. And that this is a reminder they were saying here, the contract documents were drafted in this manner so that the project would be completed and the parties would then be free, this is interesting, to pursue remedies against each other in the courts. Now, as XM indicated today, apparently in Beijing, Bahama has decided not to complete the project in accordance with the contract documents. The new financing proposed for Bahama would include $200 million now in new lending by XM Bank, over and above the amount still existing contract facility. I believe it's $150 million, somewhere around there. The monies that they was from the original part of the contract.
Oh, yeah. 150 million left, yeah.
And then XM has insisted that its new $200 million credit extension be guaranteed by the contractor and or the developer. The developer, what do you make of that? I mean, it seems as if they're saying, whoever you all fight that out, we here, this is what we'll do. What are y'all going to have to guarantee this? That's what they're saying there. The developer has proposed to provide a standby letter of credit to back $25 million of the new $200 million credit extension. The contractor is offered to guarantee the remaining $175 on the condition that it receives a corresponding guarantee by the developer. Wow. In the most recent discussions, the contractor has agreed, according to my information, that the amount of the guarantee could be limited to $100 million. The developer has declined to provide any guarantees apart from $25 million, the letter of credit, and has proposed as an alternative that the government provide XM, with a sovereign guarantee of up to $175 million in place of any guarantee by the contractor. So when they say the government, they're talking about our government.
Oh, yeah. The government of the Bahamas.
That we provide a sovereign guarantee.
Yeah, see, I think what Sarkis is looking at is, okay, I'm putting up $100 million.
Yep.
I'm putting up a letter of credit of another 25. And the developer and the contractor wants me to guarantee the other 175. So in essence, I'm guaranteeing I'm guaranteeing 3 out of the 400 million. So I got to put up my 100. I got to put that up.
Right.
So that's cash in.
Right.
I got to provide a letter of credit for 25.
Mhm.
And now the contractor wants me to guarantee another 175.
Right.
So that's 200. 175 is 25. That's 200 plus the 100 I got to put in 300. He's like, man, I wasn't late,
Yeah, I see the point. That's why
I wasn't
sense
late.
There's a stubbornness here
I
now.
wasn't late. It's not my fault.
Mhm.
I mean, maybe it's a part of my fault. I'm not walking away from it totally, but I think me having to guarantee essentially 3 out of the 400 of fresh money coming in, that's a little unfair.
Yeah, I think, and that's why I was asking. Do you think that that's how you'd be thinking that?
Yeah, he's probably thinking, no, man, I wasn't late. I paying you on time. I doing what I'm supposed to do. You tell me March the 29th, the prime minister, you, the head of Exim Bank, the head of China State, we were all in Beijing in January. We all agreed we could make that date. We signed an MOU saying that we're going to make that date. You didn't make that date.
But now,
And now
he
you
has
want
to
me.
pay.
Now you want
he
me
has
to pay.
guarantee.
Not only pay, but you want me to put up 100 and guarantee
200 million.
200 out of the 3, the remaining money to make 4. So I'm putting up my 100. China State is putting up 100, and the bank is putting up 200. That's how you get your 4.
Right.
And now you want me to put up 100 and guarantee
The other
another
3.
200
Another 200
to get to
200
the
million.
4. And that's he's probably saying, man.
So
come on,
see,
man.
that's
Y'all-
why I
y'all
asked you
meet
this.
me- meet me somewhere.
See, that's what I'm saying, Mr.
Meet me
Diagla.
halfway.
I'm saying he has to be thinking now. Well, there goes all the great negotiations for you.
Yeah.
He has to be thinking that because see now Friday
I go
coming.
through all of this to end up with that.
Not only that, he may still have to do some other things because unless this here is looked at a move that they moving in the right direction, the government could withdraw its own winding up voluntarily, withdraw it without even being paid.
Yep.
Is that possible?
Yeah.
Because the government can now say to the Bahamian people, look, we got what we wanted.
Yeah.
We got them to come to the table, and some movements has happened. So the government can actually now say, look, okay, our move worked. See, the political pundits, they're going to spin that.
I mean,
The
even
government
was
made
to
their-
guarantee 175
Mhm.
to make the deal happen. I mean, I'm not saying that the government should do that because I'm just not saying that.
Right.
I'm just saying that. Well, I'm sure that the people have said the government have given enough.
Right.
Okay, we've given all
1.2
sorts of
billion.
concessions
Right.
and blah 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 and all the rest of it. So I'm not going to go out there on the chopping block and let Mr. Blatty Roberts beat me up again tomorrow with telling me I spending the people money to make my boy rich, right? So I ain't going out and saying
Well,
that.
it's interesting that the talks ended in China today with the parties agreeing to continue discussions among themselves. And it's also understood that in the meantime, the parties might continue to pursue other legal options. That's quite interesting.
Yeah.
And one of the legal options that we're looking at, the Bahamas government has the winding up on the table.
Yes, that's
They may want to withdraw that in good faith. I don't know. I'm just saying. See, I don't know why this guarantee of $175 million is there for the government of the Bahamas. You see, but I understand.
Well, I guess what Ismailian is saying is that, look, I'm not guaranteeing anything for the contractor.
Mhm.
Okay, there's no way I'm doing that.
Right. So that's
I don't.
where the
But
Bahamas-
I'm no way I'm doing it. I just don't want to do it.
Right. So the Bahamas government is picking up the slack.
if the bank is insisting on it, that's a line in the sand.
Right.
My line in the sand is I'm not going to guarantee, part of the contract is dead. My God, we've just gone through this messy divorce. We're trying to make a kiss and make up session. This is hardly a mechanism by which we kiss and make up. And maybe an option is the Bahamas government, but I'm not personally espousing that point of view. And, I'll let.
Well, it is what it is.
Yeah, it
we
is,
can
it
read
is,
into
yeah.
it. Let's take some calls on the lines because this is quite interesting now. There's some things have changed. It's been a little advancement here. They still have the right to go and do what they're doing to pursue legal action in their own for their own reasons. But some things have been taken off the table. The bankruptcy in Delaware, off the table.
If we have a deal.
If we have a deal.
They say pursue the legal remedy. So
Right.
that would
that
come
tells
off
you
it,
right there.
That if
still-
everybody comes together and they make a deal, all this litigation and fighting
fall
goes
away.
away.
Yeah.
And that's everybody's agreed to do that. Once we can make this deal, it all goes away and we kiss and make up and
Right.
make a concerted effort to
Yeah,
move
but that's
forward.
not a deal that comes off the table before the deal is closed.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. That's
Okay, let's take some calls if they're still there. Let's go to line 2. We miss you, Grant. Let's ask Trevor. Trevor, you there?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Thanks for holding. We'll get South Beach in a minute and reconcile in a minute. Go ahead, sir.
All right, Mr. Diagla, how are you, sir?
I'm very well.
All right, I got a couple of questions. There was some threats made about the government reacquiring some land that, Bahama has possession of, saying that they pass certain dates and that makes these property eligible for the government to take back. Is that just a vain threat? Does the government have any authority to do that, or was that just a promise?
That's a nuclear option that the government will probably explore at some time in the future, assuming that this gets messier and uglier. But right now, we're not there yet.
Yeah, that's nothing. They won't push that button yet.
They ain't pushing that button yet.
Okay, all right.
But I guess they reserve the right to do so.
All right, sir. Another question. I know Mr. Ismailian has a problem with the construction company. Is the bulk of this money that you're getting back, is this going towards structural repairs or cosmetic repairs? I was on property, and I'm no professional, but I was unsatisfied with the level of finished work that I saw down there. So I'm wondering if we got to go and strip this building down to the foundation and make the repairs, or it was like when people get a haircut and you ask the barber, "Man, you finished?"
That's a good one. Thanks for your call. You know that kind of situation.
I don't think it needs to go back to the structure. I mean, there are obviously issues that the contractor is trying to, that the developer is trying to live with and trying to get the contractor to correct. And he's right. People have walked on the site and had similar comments. And so, that's part of the fight. But I don't think that money is obviously to finish it. You've got to correct all these deficiencies.
Mhm.
But a lot of it will go to just finishing what needs to be done. Getting a certificate of occupancy. That's the hardest thing right now.
South Beach, how are you? South Beach, you're on hard copy. Okay, you're gone. All right, let's talk with Reconciler. How are you?
Hey, good evening, Brother McKinney.
Yeah, man, we making advancements, boy. Christy done put that thing on the table and some things starting to happen. We see a little movement.
So you think you can put the champagne on chill?
Mr.
Yaga, how are you today, sir?
How are you doing today?
Pretty good. Mr. McKinney, I'm glad that there appears to be some advancement. However, we were talking hard against Mr. Ismailian for the past couple of weeks. Even me was giving quite a few hard words against him.
Mm-hmm.
But as this thing began to pan out, and even as I said from this past week, I see that Ismailian, he was very justified in taking the stand that he did with regard to the CCA and their bad shorty work.
Right.
McKinney, you remember when God bless the dead, when that gentleman lost his life at that site a few months ago?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I remember.
Yeah, and when I saw a portion of that structure and whole floors were not completed. And they were saying at the time, I think they'd be open in March. And I know that couldn't happen. However, to cut a long story short, Mr. McKinney, I'm glad that you have Mr. Diagolo on the show. Why? Because he has given some insight as a board director. He's given a lot of insight in what's truly happening. That caused you even to see a better view of what's going on. Now, I believe that, the government should not get, even the chairman of the PLP, he should not get on his high horse and carry on the way he did with the good gentleman, because it's not fair, all right? If someone is expressing their views and giving their take on what's going on, especially they have some good insight in some facts of what's really happening, I believe that you should look at it objectively and that we should take it from there. I'm glad that, hopefully they really are making some headway, but I want us to come. I don't think Ismailian should guarantee anything to his own detriment. I believe that him and the CCA should back it 50-50. Have a good day, gentlemen.
I appreciate your call.
I agree. I concur with his conclusions.
I got other calls on the telephone line. Let me just take these calls as we get set to wrap things up here. But it has been quite an interesting situation. Bradley Roberts has said some things that sparked a response from.
What I particularly like is when he said the public needs when the public needs advice on washing clothes, we will turn to him. Until then, no, thank you. and I say Vincent and Marina Diaglo did not send their dear son away to the United States and England to school in order to come back and advise my people about washing clothes. I'm a Bahamian and I can offer opinion, and they educated. Absolutely. They spent a fortune on me educating me for me to talk my mind. So
no, on the level of it, to be honest and about it. Mr. Roberts said some things because that's how he thinks politically. He's a PLP chairman, so he's going to do that. But the fact is, he may have overstepped, in my opinion, by suggesting that you shouldn't be talking. Everybody can talk on this issue.
Man, that's I was
We as
there,
talk
so-
shows can talk on the issue. Anybody can have a comment on it. You may not like what people say. You may disagree with them. But you said something earlier that he didn't call you. He should have called you and said, look here, man, I hear you. I disagree with you. And you're all too round. And he says, now, look here. Why don't you wake on this thing, see what could happen? You know, because that's, if we all wanted to be, we shouldn't be looking for just fodder to have, you know,
And
exploits.
they
around it.
distract you with
Yeah.
these, with this, like he's born with a silver spoon in his mouth. And I'm always saying,
well,
you know,
what he has done effectively or tried to do is work Denicio de Agla as one of those bourgeois people who really don't have no feeling for the little fella.
and I always tell him, when I was born in 1964, my mother and father worked for BEC. So I know what kind of silver spoon that was.
Mm.
And we moved from Quarry Mission Road right down the road here
to my
the
neighbors.
ball track.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. That ain't no life of key when I was growing up. The ball track was anyway. The people don't know.
But you're not bothered by that, are you? I mean,
no, I
because-
find it amusing, but I just want to discount it. I don't
Right.
want people to take it and run with it. The Agla
Right.
being rich his whole life.
Mhm.
I don't. You know,
Yeah.
I
You work hard for your money.
But you
And that's-
work
that's
hard. I don't even
commendable.
think I am rich.
Yeah. But, you know, the thing is, what would you say if you had to Mr. Roberts, based on what he has said to you in this press release? All things considered, what would you say to him?
I would say, Mr. Roberts, you know, I was there. I have some insight to provide. You know, when you're sitting around the table at your PLP gatherings and you're all drinking the Kool-Aid, you know, just there are going to be people who differ in their opinions from what everybody around the table drinking the Kool-Aid is going to say. And it's always important to get differing views. You may not agree with them, but you needn't blow them out of the water. I mean, there's two people within the PLP that always blow you out of the water, what I call shoot the messenger. And that's Mr. Roberts and Mr. Fred Mitchell. And they always do this. And I'm just like, look, people have opposing views. If you're going to be a strong and good leader, and especially in differing times, maybe this wasn't the case back when he was, you know, in charge. Now you just talk to people. People just find out why I think the way I think of. My phone number 359-3322 is up in every single super wash. I don't hide from nobody. I'm very accessible. So, you know, that's all you got to do. You ain't got to take me out and run on about the silver spoon and the rich and the poor and the washing clothes and all that sort of stuff. That's noise.
He did that to get your attention. I'm sure. Roberts knows most things in this country.
He's a politician.
Yeah,
he's a
he
politician.
got your
They know how to do it.
Let's talk with Terrence and then South Beach. Terrence, how are you?
Fine, and you, sir?
Thank you kindly.
Good afternoon to you
Yeah,
again.
you need to speak it for me, please.
I was told that Bahama had 55 vice presidents, all who have non-Bahamian. I don't know how true that is.
You was told what?
They had 55 vice presidents,
65 by
who were
55.
non-Bahamian.
And all are non-Bahamians.
Yes, I just wanted to know if that is true,
Okay.
based on you know.
Shouldn't that be a matter of public record? But what? If you,
I don't actually know how many vice presidents they have, and I don't know how many of them are Bahamian. But what I do know is that Ismailian made a concerted effort to fly around the world, to Atlanta, to New York, to Washington, to London, to find Bahamians, qualified Bahamians who have emigrated from this country, to try and attract them to come home. So I know for a fact that he made that effort. Now, I don't know whether he was able to find people to hold specialized positions, and also be very mindful. I mean, I have an undergraduate degree in hospitality management, and opening a hotel is very much a special art. And you bring in a group of talent to open your property, maybe stay there for 9 months, and then melt away, and the operators that you've got underneath them rise up and take over. So don't wrap yourself in the Bahamian flag and think that that's a bad thing right now. But in 3 years, if that was the case, then yes, that would be an issue. But opening a hotel of this complexity and this difficulty requires special talent. And once you fulfill that requirement, the place is opening and running, those people melt away. They go to their next project of opening. You have people who specifically just open hotels.
Right.
They will
right,
melt away and go
understood.
elsewhere.
All right. Thanks for your call. Oh, you had another question, Terrence?
No, that's okay.
Thank you
That's all
kindly.
right. Thank you.
Thank you kindly. All right, South Beach, your time. How you doing?
Good afternoon there to you, Mr. McKinney, and to Mr. Diagula.
Yes.
If I can, Mr. Diagula, I want to refer that to a prior interview. I think I'm not sure if you may recall, and just paraphrasing. This was, I think, around about 2011 or maybe 2010, around there, 4 or 5 years ago. The Bahama deal, as such, that was in its infancy stage. I think they had quite broken and made the foundation yet. But there was a question I posed to you, sir, and the question was, I think you were still at the time the among the administration with the Chamber of Commerce. You recall that? And I wanted to pose that to you, that exactly, we already know what exactly what the Chinese pretty much have in mind. You know, for all we know, and I think Mr. McKinney, you made references to that during your broadcast, that the Chinese had at some time an agenda. Now, whether that was through any type of investment, whatever the case is, but the main thing is we are all from the soil. This is our Bahamas, and we want to make sure that the Bahamians there who potentially are, quote unquote, as I've heard from previous dialogues and so forth through the press, are worth several $1 million at least. And we want to circulate this time we want to circulate and make sure that every Bahamian is equally empowered and the money is circulated, whether it's through tourism, whatever industry and so forth. But I say this there to say this if I can there, sir. But you made, I think, somewhat of a comment there with the Chinese there, such saying that I think that they were bringing large sums of money. I'm not sure if you recall that there. If I'm saying it, please correct me.
I honestly can't remember. It's so long ago, but I will take your word for it. If I said it, I said it.
Okay. Well, I pose this question there to you, sir. That as you were at the Chamber administration there with Chamber of Commerce, what exactly you are doing there in your post to make sure that each Bahamian is empowered in business, and this business there probably venture could possibly be taken and even their branch abroad. Who knows? Why not? Many people have been called across the world, including yourselves. You said you come from humble beginnings. And many Bahamians want to aspire to become something greater and so forth with their businesses. And part of the way I see it, from our tourism sector as such, is that we have to remember that tourism is no longer just within a group of our country and so forth. In the region, tourism is now international. So the idea is redefining your product, that your product is unique. And we know Cuba now is opening up, just to bring an example if I can, with a market. And they're trading things of culture and so forth, and using that type of way to bring about more types of industry and so forth, economic and power to them. Why can't we adopt the same thing? I mean, we have it here and do the same through whatever it is, our record street, music, whatever it is, small businesses. Try to do inter-island trading, as we would do with global trade and so forth. And then we would go ahead from there.
I appreciate your call.
I'm a little unsure on what exactly the question was, but
he's suggesting that we need to do more in tourism, that when you were there, Chamber, should have happened, and it still should happen now, that this should be the course of action. And basically, he's talking about diversifying. We're depending on one thing. We should diversify.
There's no doubt about it. Yeah. He's absolutely right. We should make our tourism product a lot more interesting rather than sun, sand, and sea. I mean, that's often been espoused. And yeah, I agree with him. And we have to be very mindful of the fact that there are much more interesting destinations that are developing around the Caribbean that, make their product a little bit more interesting. So we have to be very mindful of that.
Mm-hmm. Now, let's finish this program off today, Dionisio de Aguilar. When we look at where we are now, all things considered, we've gotten some news out of Beijing. It sounds positive in a way. It is not taking us out of the woods, but at least the news is a little bit more beneficial this time for the meetings in Beijing that we sent Alison Maynard Gibson to as a country. That's good. She's going to brief the Prime Minister later on this evening. We may see a national address, or we may have some statement from him within the next few hours on this particular occasion. The thing what I'm looking at now is that when you look at reputational damage, people are now concerned whether or not it will still be a good thing to have the brand of Bahama remain the brand of Bahama, even if Sarkis is still running the show because of all this stuff that happened. Is it just going to be a big marketing plan to fix it, to make sure it's shored up, or do you think there's been reputational damage to the Bahama product by name and extension, the Bahamas as a tourism industry?
Absolutely. There has been, I mean, this whole Chapter 11 and this big fisticuffs and bust up and fighting and carrying on has done reputational damage to the Bahamas. And I think a large portion of that 400 million, or a significant portion of it, are to rebrand and remarket the product. I mean,
and get everybody talking on the same page.
Yes, and everything. Once you, I'm sure you've had 2 opening dates. One was a hard date, and it was a disaster. So that has caused a lot of reputational damage to the product, to the brand. And ain't nobody coming now until your doors open and they see someone opening the door
And
for
they
you
hear
from
people
it,
talking about
it, and it starts to go. So you're gonna, I feel you're probably gonna run horrendous losses to begin with, just because you can't, unless you come up with a very ingenious idea of how to fill the hotel, and that's where you need the guarantees from the contractor that you're going to hit this date, because you can't afford to now go all out, spend all this money, and then miss the date again.
Not only that, you have a mortgage to pay. You've got to be sustained. You got to be able to sustain this hotel property. Is that a question in your mind as a member of the board going forward? That now that you got this money, you've just got enough money to do what you got to do. What about sustainability of the project? All things considered, you got to be paying mortgage. You got to be paying this. There's ongoing salaries. There may be ongoing litigation. There may be ongoing lawsuits, all kinds of stuff. I mean, is this a sustainable project nonetheless?
Unfortunately, only time will tell. I mean, the problem with all business ventures are that they are all a risk, and nothing. You could time it right, and you could hit it right, and you could fill the hotel, and you could make a home run. Conversely, things go horribly wrong. So, that's the beauty and the beast of business. It's a risk. I mean, every time I build a new superwash, have I got too many? Is it going to cannibalize my existing ones? My father always says, only one way to find out, build it and find out.
Yeah.
So that's the risk of business. Right. And I think that the fact that Ismaili and Mr. Ismaili and Sarkis is fighting so valiantly for this, he must still believe in it. He must still believe that it's viable and that he can make it work. I mean, he has put the best years of his life from 30 to 43 into this project.
No question.
So, and he's not going down lightly. I mean, I'm sure. I mean, he's a very wealthy guy, right? He could easily have thrown up his hands. Y'all take it then. Y'all want it, y'all run it. Y'all have a good time, man. Y'all think y'all could do better than me? Good luck. Have a nice time. But no, he continues to fight valiantly for control of the project and to bring this to fruition, and so that one day he can stand and say, look, people of the Bahamas, look what I have done, and I am so proud of it, and I couldn't have done it without you. And here we have, remember what Cable Beach was, and look at it now. And something for us all to be proud of. And I think that I would prefer that gentleman there than some representative of an agency of a foreign government. He is someone I could appeal to, someone I can connect with, and someone who has demonstrated himself to be a friend of this country. I mean, hands down in many, many different ways, as I articulated earlier in the program.
Yeah.
So
let's look at some text messages before we go. Good evening, Mr. McKinney and your guest. Great show. With all of this acrimony between the Chinese and Bahama, when Bahama opens, how can they fill the hotels and make a profit? If the Chinese government decides to boycott the resort, that's what that person is saying.
I don't think the Chinese will boycott the resort. At the end of the day, they owe $2.6 billion, right? So they're not going to.
You don't walk away from that kind
no,
of money. Even if you got trillions of dollars to throw away.
You might talk hard, but you ain't going to let $2.6 billion, even for a country as wealthy as China, you're not going to walk away from that.
This one says, Mr. Diagla, talk straight. The government backstab Sarkis. They're working with the Chinese. I'm all with Sarkis. Stand firm, Sarkis, is what that person says. This one says, Steve, boy, that's something. Hey, when Bahamian contractors wanted to build Bahama, we wasn't qualified nor good enough. But now it's a mess. We are the best workers ever. The truth will always be revealed. God is good all the time. Laugh out loud is what that person said. I guess he's quoting you and others who said that we believe in Bahamians. That's quite an interesting kettle of fish, because now that Sarkis is saying he believes in Bahamians, Christie's been saying that. Now Sarkis is perhaps saying, put your money where your mouth is on this one, because we want some Bahamians to finish this particular job. That may still be his plan B, because it seems like he's not a happy camper being the one to guarantee $300 million in this project, which you
might as well put up the 200 at the bank, put up the 200.
Yeah, that's a better deal. Which he offered is a better deal
and he
for him.
controls it. Yeah.
And
he's not hasn't got this contentious contractor in the way. But that's not plan A. Plan A is to make a deal and everybody to come out happy, and we go back to drinking Chinese Mau Tai and toasting the People's Republic of China and the Potomac of the Bahamas. You know how the sessions go.
Right, but the thing is, now there's also a plan C, which is now a plan 2, plan B for the government. They decided that after they couldn't get him to the table, force him to the table by putting this thing in the front of the car, winding up. They have done that. They can now say, boy, the winding up process worked because, see, we went to the table, we got something done in Beijing. And basically, even if it doesn't make much sense, that's what the government wants to say, because it's all politics. It's political theater.
Yeah.
For them, it's they say face of the Bahamian public. That's very important to the government.
Oh,
so their whole thing is that we got him to say something. We have made an advancement. There's still some little things that we got to play with and tweak, but at least we got movement. There's life. We got movement. There is hope.
Yes.
If there's life and there's movement, there is hope. And that's what Christie will be able to say, I believe, at the end of the day, which goes well for him and his team. In the meantime, Steve on Hard Copy, the Hard Copy Nation, we got Nation too,
Yeah.
You got the Bahama Nation. We got somebody text me and say, the Hard Copy Nation say this. So we got Nation too. So the Hard Copy Nation is concerned about what's going to happen on the 21st or the 31st day of July, 2015, will we see a court case come, or will we see Sarkis make a move, pay off the government, take them out of the mix, take that off the table for this provisional liquidator, and stay fully in charge of his operation? Because in my opinion,
I think he'll do everything he possibly can to remain in charge. I think he will take whatever steps he thinks are credible to remain in charge of this project, because he believes, and I believe too, that he is the right man to finish it and to make it happen. I mean, he believes in this project. This is his baby. He's born this, and now he wants to bring it up. And that's the natural position of a parent.
No question about it. Well, listen, Dionisio de Aguilar, I'm happy that you stopped by today. I'm happy that you've taken my invitation to come and talk about this. This is good and timely, because look at this information that we coming across our service now that says that this is what is happening. Bradley Roberts sparked this by saying what he said to you. He got you here to talk today. He's been listening, I'm sure. And he knows
I
that
love Mr. Roberts, man. I love Mr. Roberts.
Yeah, that's the whole thing. That's the whole thing.
At the end of the day, we both Bahamians.
And at the end of the day, if you all can work this out, that we all can be happy as Bahamians, this is the whole idea. And so I appreciate you coming today, and I thank you very much, Mr. Dionisio de Aguilar.
Thank you very much, Steve, for having me on the show.
Absolutely. Now, let us go home, Nathan, because the wife cooked soup today. And on soup day, I can't be late. Well, that's our show for today. Here we thank Mr. Dionisio de Aguilar from Superwash, and of course a member of the board of directors of Bahama, and one who's been giving us some good information today that we will now go and consider as we keep an eye on things as we work for you, the Bahamian people. Our sponsors today, the National Art Gallery, Commonwealth Bail Bonds, Bank of the Bahamas, the Bank of Solutions, BTC Every Day, Super Value, the McKinney Media Group, RBC Visa, get it now, Tourism, Ministry of Tourism, the Junkanoo Summer Festivals are over. Now they start Goombay on this Friday. Advantage Insurance and Brokers, New Oriental Laundry, Grace Academy, Ron's Electric Motors, Prime Immigration Services, Sky Bahamas, Superwash, CFAO, Commonwealth Bank, Executive Printers, Henry F. Store, and the Blue Ultra Pure Drinking Water. God willing, tomorrow we'll be back at 5 o'clock. As you know, if it's 5 o'clock, it's Hard Copy. And on 5 o'clock tomorrow, I believe we'll have some breaking news for you, because things happen around 5 o'clock. That's just the way it is. God willing, we'll see you. Have a good night.